From the outside, it seemed a fairy tale.
The best team of the modern era of the last 50 years produces its masterpiece. So Hawthorn have done it, back to back.
Hawthorn's historic grand final three-peat, 2013, 2014, 2015. But behind the trophies and fanfare, a dark secret.
What we've seen today is a challenging, harrowing and disturbing read.
These allegations are extremely disturbing.
Almost it's hard to find the words to describe how you feel when you read something like this.
A Hawthorn commissioned racism review leaked to the ABC, exposing claims of shocking treatment of Indigenous players under the leadership of illustrious coach Alastair Clarkson and then assistant Chris Fagan.
You can't put yourself in the position of those players and their families and what they've been through and what they've told by people who they're supposed to look up to.
In the name of performance management, young First Nations players say they were separated from their families. Some claim they were bullied and relocated from their homes. Others pushed into removing their SIM cards to cease family contact. One player alleges he was separated from his pregnant partner. Months later, she would miscarry, telling the review panel,
"You just can't imagine how lonely and lost I was in that hospital bed."
But the most devastating allegation is levelled at Alastair Clarkson.
Clarkson just leaned over me and demanded that I needed to get rid of my unborn child and my partner. He told me to kill my unborn kid.
Players say the trauma continues to haunt them and their families.
I've lost the love of the game. I've had suicide attempts. They broke me as a man, as a footballer and as a family man.
It's a shock to the system. Reading some of the things that were alleged in that.
The AFL responded today with an unprecedented move, taking action beyond its own integrity unit.
We are appointing an external, independent panel that will be made up of 4 people, led by an eminent King's Counsel.
Hawthorn to cooperate with the AFL's investigation.
I think Australia has a culture problem historically. I think we have to face our history and our past, and we have to act responsibly.
Chris Fagan, now the Brisbane Lions head coach, has been stood down, agreeing to take a leave of absence from the club. Alastair Clarkson's multi-million-dollar deal with North Melbourne in jeopardy, the club delaying the start of his tenure. Late this afternoon, Clarkson responded in a statement saying he wasn't afforded any due process and he refutes any allegation of wrongdoing or misconduct. 3 clubs now dragged into the sorry saga, casting a dark shadow over what should be the most wonderful time of the AFL year.
We've got a broader game that will go on, but I don't think that in any way diminishes the scale of the story that's broken today and the hurt and the pain.
And Ben Abadangelo is a Gunai Kurnai and Watchabelloc man and former elite cricketer, and he joins us now to talk all about this. Ben, thank you so much for joining us. What did you first think when you woke up this morning and read these allegations?
Yeah. I think everyone woke up to read the news. I think the first thing is the feeling of it. I've had to kind of learn how to sleep almost, right? And there's a lot of people that from the community that bear the brunts of all of this stuff day to day and find it really difficult to unsee the things that you see and unfeel the things that you feel. So I think to kind of wake up and read that, I think it's an avalanche of emotions and feelings that are hard to describe because it's so inhumane. And I don't think the language that we use has the right words to describe it. But it's immediately thinking about the people involved, the people that have been impacted and it's then almost like you have this moment, and for me it's like, all right, you've stepped out of the dream and let's get ready for, the apocalypse and more of the nightmare.
So evocatively put.
Wow.
There's so much about this that is just full on and bizarre. One of the things that's odd about it is that Hawthorn commissioned this report, and it seems they didn't know what to expect. Like they've been caught by surprise. What do you make of that whole dimension to it?
I think there's something interesting in the blindness, right? For a society that has been built on racism and that has seen it so clearly, has this pervasive ability to then be blind to the things that they've created. So, that it is so blind to so many people and you know, there's and everything that has been done to First Nations people has been to our betterment, right? So the revelations or allegations that have been levelled were probably coming from a place at the time where it's like, I know we're doing this person a favour or a service, you know, taking kids from their families is for their betterment, not letting these people speak their language or hold their civic laws is for their betterment. So I think there's something really interesting in the blindness of it. And, you know, I spoke to a solicitor not long ago for another story who was involved in the Royal Commission into Dondale, and his words were that it's not only that this society can do bad things to Aboriginal people, but there's a belief among it that they should. And I think when you've been able to act with such impunity for so long, that all of these things become commonplace. And it's topical at the moment with a lot of the stuff with the Queen and colonialism and, you know, this legacy piece which creates proximity between now and the past. But all of this stuff is alive. It's still, it's still alive and pumping.
The Collingwood Do Better report, the fallout from the Adelaide camp with Eddie Betts outlined so beautifully and tragically, and now this. Is it time for an independent inquiry into the AFL?
I think beyond the AFL, I think everything connected to it. I think, I mean, absolutely yes. And should there be more to that independence and the scope of that they and powers that they have? Absolutely. I think we need to look at, you know, the private school system as well, that for young Aboriginal kids that want to live a life or play AFL, they have to move from their community. They have to give up so much of themselves, and throughout that entire process, to have a crack at living your dream, you have to almost distance yourself from who you are. I think the programs that are associated with it, I think it all needs to be put under the spotlight because it's all set up to disconnect people from their families, from their communities, from their identities, just to succeed in a sporting sense.
I was going to ask you if you'd ever seen anything like this in your sports career, but I feel like the way that you talk, even though the specific circumstances may be different, the answer is really yes, because this kind of stuff happens all the time.
Yeah, I was interested in that question. I feel like it's all on the same spectrum. I haven't experienced, you know, what's occurred to these young men and women and their families, and it's beyond comprehension. But I think every First Nations person that lives on this continent and its islands, that moves through any professional setting, has got a lot of skeletons in their closet. And yeah, mine aren't to the extent of that, but they are within the same playing field and within the same realm.
So obviously these are allegations at the moment, so the AFL says they're going to do their investigation, etc. What do you want to see happen with that?
Oh, difficult. I think... I mean, this is the question that I think I am grappling with a lot of these different institutions and codes. There's a narrowness that we need to keep on the AFL and on Hawthorn, but we also know that, you know, the revelations within the Do Better report and everything that we know is replicated across all these other codes. But my question is, like, can this dystopia that they create for First Nations people actually be reformed? That's the question that I wrestle with, because I think whatever landing zone you come to off that philosophical question, then you know, gives you the answers maybe of what should happen. But
and are you thinking yes, or you have a lot of doubt?
I've got a lot of history on my side that says it is incapable, but I am heartened at the same time as we finish this segment and it's connected to it, that the Tiwi traditional owners just beat Santos in a court case to protect their sea country. Santos is a supporter and long-time sponsor of AFL. So it's not just the microcosm of what's happening in the change rooms, it's everything that's connected to it. And the people that are involved currently, who are presiding over this, I don't think have the capability to rejuvenate, reimagine, you know, a code that should be so joyous.
Ben, I fear we'll be talking to you about this some other time.
I hope not.
I hope not too.
Maybe we could just, like, stop killing blackfellas. That'd be helpful and appreciated.
Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
Right, for those in need, crisis support is available 24/7 through Lifeline on 13 11 14.